change your names, do whatever you need to do to feel as comfortable and as safe as possible. And yeah, so let's go. So tonight's talk is called The Five Blockers Stealing Your Spark and the Three Steps to Restore It. Um, Thank you, everyone who decided to come out tonight. I really appreciate it. Oh shit, what did I just do? Um, 1 second. Uh, Sorry, I just had a technical glitch. 1 sec. Do you guys, what do you see? Okay, you see my screen. Okay. You're likely here because there's something around intimacy, whether it's physical or emotional, that's become a source of struggle in your relationship. And maybe that's an understatement. I don't know. And we'll talk about it. So if intimacy feels heavy or like a chore or completely non-existent, I want you to know that you're not alone. Tonight, we're going to look at the 5 fundamental issues that happen to women when desire shuts down and how we can bring closeness back and get you to wanting it back. Now, I think the chat function is working. I don't 100% know, but if you have any questions, put your questions in the chat. Oh, there. Thank you, Oriana. I appreciate that. Put your questions in the chat and we'll take it from there. And I may be going through my notes, so I'll take questions at the end. So you may want to know who I am and why this matters. So this is a really common issue. I see this in my practice all the time, and this is what I work on, is women who have desire issues within their marriages. And you being here is a fantastic first step. You may have seen me around on the internet, you may work with me, but if you're new to my world or didn't do any Googling, I'll introduce myself. I'm Lauren. I'm a registered psychotherapist and an intimacy specialist. I've been in practice for over 10 years. And while I work on different elements of relationship issues, I focus a lot on supporting women who love their partners, but dread the bedroom for whatever reason. And again, I want you to know that it is completely common and that change is possible. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a job. So, feel reassured that there is nothing wrong with you. We always want to know why this is happening, why anything is happening to us. And it's easy to blame hormones or to blame your other half. I get that a lot. I either get, no, I've gone through menopause, that's it, I'm done, it's over for me. And then I also have others who blame their husbands for whatever, partners for whatever reason. And I don't think that anything or anyone deserves the blame because that doesn't actually get us anywhere. And I think part of you knows that you're here because you want some sort of answer. To me, that means you have some kind of hope that there is change. And it really comes down to, we are, as complicated as we are emotionally, fundamentally, we are simple beings, and our nervous system is really at the center of that. So if you're listening to a lot of health content recently, you'll hear a lot about nervous system. And I think we're all people in health, or many people in health, are starting to realize it comes down to basics. So when it comes to desire, your nervous system prioritizes safety. And when it's overloaded, desire it retreats, it disappears. And it gets overloaded quite quickly, actually, whether it's kids or years of conflict or stress, grief. That's a big one. Our systems, regardless of gender, actually, we're actually a lot more sensitive than we give them credit. And because our nervous systems taught us how to survive. I also talk about ego defenses in my day-to-day practice. We have these crazy mechanisms that allow us to get through the world in the way that we learned how to, whether it's healthy or not. And changing how we survive is a lot of work, because whatever this is, even if it's been a state of anxiety, it's kept us safe for so long. It's hard to trust the feeling that being free or less burdened and feeling joy could also be safe for us. When you're so used to the one, like I always use the analogy of like muddy, murky waters, you're used to swimming in those waters. Even if someone's showing you the crystal clear blue waters of the ocean, that's terrifying because you don't know what it's like to swim in it because you're used to the muck. So that's why we don't force desire. I'm not into faking it until you make it or scheduling sex or doing anything that pressures you to do anything that you don't want to do ever. We focus on rebuilding the conditions for desire and connection to return. And that looks different for every person. There's a lot of advice out there that's nice and it's cute. You know, you hear the more dates, flirty texts, whatever. It's cute, but it doesn't help the bigger issue. It's actually making the issue worse. If the deeper blockers are present, quick fixes backfire, and then it increases guilt and shame. Hi, Joy, I saw you come in. It's a vicious and disappointing cycle. And when we get into blame on ourselves or the other, it's not getting us anywhere. It's just keeping us stuck in a cycle that isn't at all helpful. So we don't go through the light and fluffy things. We get underneath and look at what's actually happening. So here's where, and I think I bypassed this in the beginning, or I don't know if I said in the beginning, if you have a piece of paper or if you have your phone out, something that you can make a note is, here's a moment of reflection. Where do you feel stuck? What is an area in your relationship with your partner or husband? Where do you feel stuck? What tends to lead to resistance to intimacy? And is it emotional or physical intimacy? I have clients who really struggle to even articulate their feelings. And so that's more of an emotional content versus a physical one. They can be really easily physically free, but not emotionally. So I also want to make note of that this isn't just about being in the bedroom, it's about your relationship as a whole. Another question is, how do you share feelings with one another? How do you future plan together? Do you do those things together? Because those are also safety building. How do you connect physically? Do you make time to hug and kiss one another? How do you feel when you even think about a greater level of closeness with each other? Some people really have a visceral reaction. So think about those questions. Hopefully I didn't speak too fast and you can write them down. And this will help us flesh out the blockers as we move on. So here are the 5 main blockers: the roommate's trap, the emotional armor. And if you're not Canadian, then yes, I know that looks funny the way it's spelled, but that's how we spell it up here. Body barrier, survival mode, and pleasure paradox. And while you may not off the top of your head know which one matches you, you'll likely find yourself in more than one, but at least one. And so now we're going to walk through each. So this one I hear all the time. You're great teammates, but you're not lovers. You're great with logistics. You know how to keep the home going, kids getting to their activities, groceries, cleaning, cooking. You know how to whip through your day. But what's happened to the two of you? When is the last time you focused on just you and being romantic or even erotic with one another? And the challenging thing is, the longer you've been in that roommate mode, the harder it is to go back to the erotic side. But it's not impossible. It just takes some effort and consistency and that initial leap into getting into something that you haven't done in years. And I know that's completely uncomfortable, and that's why we take it slowly, but it starts with one small step. And I talk about this all the time. We want to bring back play because that starts to lower the barriers and relieve pressure. And I talk about play it's a very vulnerable thing. It's a very natural thing. You watch kids play and you see how they throw their full bodies into it, and they're not worried about anything. They're not worried about getting dirty. And it's just that kid is still in there inside all of us. And we want to try and tap into that silliness, that lightness. Because it starts to relieve the pressure. So start slow. Try asking each other a playful question. I wrote down two that are totally silly and nonsensical, but you can try. Like, what would your superhero costume look like if you had one? I chose that because, I think we all, when we were younger, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for many people, especially boys, it was a superhero of some kind. And I also like that they wear spandex, and so that can sort of bring a bit of a sexual playfulness into the equation. Another one that I like is, if our pet had a voice, what would he or she sound like? And talk in that voice for a while. My partner and I talk in our dog's voice sometimes, and it brings us a lot of joy, and it's a playful moment for us. But for others, it can also be a bit of a filter. If you're struggling to articulate something, maybe having that bit of a thin veil will help you articulate it if it's not quite in your voice, if you haven't found yours yet. The second block is the emotional armor, and that can come into the relationship with you, or it can be built over time with hurt and overwhelm and grief. And the armor, it keeps you safe and it keeps you at a distance, which keeps you apart. And with the armor, avoidance and ambivalence come up a lot. And I do speak to a lot of people who are ambivalent about intimacy. They feel they've gone this long without it. Why incorporate it now? This is a safe, if you imagine yourself like a knight in armor, you are blocked off from the world, you're protected from metal. And the thought of taking that armor off is frightening. So there's a lot of protection and distance and avoided conversations, and the alternative is pressure. So we want to understand why the armor is there in the first place, and what can help bring that armor down a bit. What do you need to feel safe or at ease? And in the context of you taking this back into your relationship, I would say start by telling your truth in a small way. Something as simple as, I'm actually feeling really sad today. And even I can get emotional saying that, because it's such a pure, it's a pure thing to say to someone, and in its true vulnerability, but it's actually a really simple thing to say. So especially if that's unusual for you to do, the more honest you are with your feelings, the more that armor can be chipped away bit by bit. So the third blocker is the body barrier. And this is such a common one. And I'm sure every woman here, which I'm pretty sure everyone is, I speak to groups all the time about body image and intimacy. Women especially have such deep and complex relationships with their bodies. And sometimes we're so hard on our bodies that we're completely disconnected from them. We're not friends with them. We don't advocate for them. We're so at odds with them because we're so unhappy, and we spent our lives criticizing them. Why would we let anyone else be physically close to us? If we're so unhappy and we're so repulsed, why would we want to let anyone else get in the way? And men have their own issues too, especially as they age. But it's about having compassion for ourselves and having compassion for both genders, because they do feel it as well. So really, gentleness and compassion is what helps retrain the body. And that's where the nervous system piece really comes back into. We talk about calming and regulating activities here, and challenging lovingly the thoughts that we have created around our body. So, in a lot of the health space, we hear about breathing and mindfulness. And it's true, because when you are mindful about one thought, and if you focus on one positive thought, if you really do that, there's no space for the clutter to come in. So you have to keep refocusing yourself onto the things that create safety and pushing away that clutter. It's a practice, but it's something that's very helpful. So you're assuring yourself that you're safe and that you're worthy of pleasure and joy and connection. And again, we're never forcing our bodies into anything that's stressful or that's betraying ourselves. It's really, it's constant, slow steps to safety. The fourth blocker is known as survival mode. And it's really common with those who live under pressure. And like I said at the beginning, you'll probably find yourself in more than one. People with kids, multiple kids, pets, stressful jobs, extracurriculars. This is like you're surviving. You have to get from point A to point B, and you just got to get through the day. These people tend to be so exhausted and so far removed from what would feel at all pleasurable, or don't even feel like there's time for themselves, for their wants or needs, including connection. I don't think they know what to ask for. They don't think that they should ask for it. There's no time to ask for it. That's someone who is in survival mode. I often hear that the thought of the effort with their husbands just feels like another chore to do. It's another thing on the checklist, or that they're touched out because everyone has extracted what they need from her and she's got nothing left. So this woman gets through each day to survive. And intimacy is the last thing on their minds. Like I said, their own needs don't even come into focus. So they don't realize that the relationships are in danger until it's been going on for far too long. And then maybe divorce is looming or another crisis in the marriage happens. And our goal is to catch that before it gets to those critical points. So I ask clients, how do we create a connection ritual that fits into daily or nightly life? Maybe it's just 2 minutes before bed, looking at each other on the pillow, trying to breathe in sync with one another, like one full deep breath together. It's not a big ask. It's just a small check-in with one another. And it tells each of you that you're safe and you can rest. And like we're really working on micro moments that help create some space for desire to come back in. And then the fifth blocker is the pleasure paradox. Here, there's a lot of guilt and shame. They want intimacy, but maybe intimacy was given a certain status growing up. This can happen a lot in various strong culture and religious contexts. And it can also come from how parents talked about intimacy and how they modeled it, like how they talked about it and how they modeled it with their partners for you, their kids at the time. So we have to challenge any of that shame or any of those strict rules around it and replace it with curiosity. That's not disrespectful at all to any sort of cultural beliefs. But again, if you're coming into the situation wanting something different, that says to me you are open to challenging it. There is a part of you that knows what you were taught isn't congruent with what your needs are. So we stick with curiosity. And a prompt you can ask yourself is, if I wasn't judging myself, what would I actually want? What would a blue sky be? Whatever that looks like, it can be something as simple as, I want a kiss to just be a kiss, or it can be something a little spicier than that, or a lot spicier than that. It's totally up to you. I want to share a quick story about a woman I worked with recently. When she first came to me, she described feeling completely shut down. Every attempt at affection felt like pressure. Even holding hands felt completely loaded, like it would lead to expectations that she just couldn't meet and didn't want to meet. And she told me she would cringe and pull away or just take whatever opportunity she could not to be close, like sort of ninjing her way around her house so she wouldn't have to be in close proximity to her husband just to avoid him, because she didn't want to hurt his feelings, but it's not like he didn't notice. So instead of pushing for more intimacy, we just slowed everything down and we focused on small steps. Like, when did this start? Was there anything in her history around intimacy that was coming up. And then we focused on what did feel safe, what small steps she could take to feel comfortable moving forwards towards him versus away, and learning to ask for touch that she needed and wanted and remove the pressure entirely. So a kiss is just a kiss. I want this hug just to be a hug, rather than feeling like a kiss is going to lead into something else, which makes her completely uncomfortable and want to retreat again. So setting those boundaries for herself, articulating her needs, and opening herself up to her husband, who was more than excited that she was just making this move in the first place. So she was setting the pace. And over time, she started to soften. And she told me that one night they were out walking and she reached for his hand just because she wanted to. And it was a tiny moment, but it meant everything. And if anyone has worked with me, you know that those tiny moments are so significant. And I rejoice in them as much as you do. They don't have to be these big grand gestures. They are something as simple as holding his hand felt good for me after years of it not. So that's what real change looks like. Not dramatic or forced. It's gentle and it's steady and it lasts because it's coming from a safe place, and we just keep building upon that. So getting to the punchline of all this is the 3 steps that get you back to desire. And it sounds, I never like how anything that I do sounds in words, because the meaning and the effort and the depth behind it is not done justice by language. Working together is still very much a therapeutic and supportive environment. You'll notice even the aesthetics of the slide presentation was really meant to be all about calm, ease, safety, and soothing. It's not about 50 Shades of Grey or bedroom domination, nothing like that. It's about building inner safety and inner knowing. We calm the body, understand what's happening for you individually and in your relationship and in your history. We name the real barrier without blame on yourself or him or anyone else. Even when you uncover parts of your family history, it's not about blaming anyone. It's just about identifying it and understanding, okay, this is where I got it from and this is how I move forward. We find you the tools that you need to cultivate desire and rebuild that spark through small and hopefully playful rituals, enjoyable rituals. I want you to feel so calm and self-assured and grounded in what you want, so you know how to ask for it and receive it, because those are 2 completely different things as well. Being able to receive love and care and gentleness can also be really foreign, and we can push that away as well. And we slowly incorporate that into practice, bringing, like I say, confidence, clarity, and connection into your relationship. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true and it's real. So if I can give you some homework tonight, it's all the things we talked about through my 30-some minutes of talking that you can try together. Try the hand-on heart breathing or the in-sync breathing with each other. That's like the 2 minutes before bed. The playful questions, asking curiosity questions rather than anything that's judgmental. They're tiny and they're doable, and most of all, they start with compassion and care. And that's really what we want with anyone that I work with. They are in good relationships that just need some help coming back to life. I don't work with people who are in any sort of abusive relationship, or if there's active infidelity. This is all about reinforcing safety and confidence and ease. I also want to give you some hope to hold on to. I know firsthand, and I know through my work, that desire returns when the conditions are right. It's totally possible to create those conditions. I know it can sound intimidating, but it really doesn't have to be. And that's what I'm here for, to be by your side, helping you create the shifts as they feel right for you. And I know some women say to me, like, why do I have to be the one to do it? Well, I mean, sadly, it's our lot in life to do a lot of things to get them done. And you deserve to have your own desires. So many women, and again, safe and effective use of self, myself included, we were trained to believe that like his needs are of utmost importance. I have to do this to make him happy, to keep him in the relationship with me. This is the time for you to work on your own desires. So we don't leave that up to anyone else but you. And like I said, the hope is that you're in a loving relationship, that he'll be all too happy to reap the benefits of this newly discovered you that wants more connection with him. So that's pretty much everything I have for tonight. I'm going to open this up for questions. If this resonated with you at all, don't let tonight just be information. Book a call with me. I'll drop that link in the chat shortly. Most of you have my email or social media. You know where to find me, and we can have a chat and see if we're a good fit to work together. And so I encourage anyone to either turn on their audio if they don't want to turn on their video, or drop messages in the chat. But if anyone has any questions or anything, I'm here. And there's just supportive stuff in in the chat. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone? Bueller? Oriana with her with her camera on. I have responsive desire than spontaneous desire. How can I help with this? So women generally are responsive desire versus spontaneous. That's a really great question. That's how we are biologically built. But I am happy to have a conversation with you to get a little more information about what's happening. But off the top, I would say men are more arousal than desire. Women are more desire than arousal. We need to have that that foundation there to get to an arousal point, so we are more responsive. It's very rare that women can just be like ready to go at the hat. Does that help? If you want to turn your audio on, you can. Okay, it helps. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? I have a feeling I know who Kitten Witten is, and like, that's very sweet. Thank you. If no one has any questions, we can, I can let you go for tonight. What I will do is, here's the link to booking a call with me if you would like. Otherwise, I will send this out on replay to my email list, and I'm always around for any questions that you have. So one last call for questions. Otherwise, I'll let you guys go for tonight. I really appreciate everyone coming. Okay. Well, to my friends and colleagues, you know who you are. Thank you for coming. And to everyone else, I'm here anytime you need. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.